when we look at what's going on in our world, when we look at what's going on in our educational system, the question is, do we really care about change? Do we really want to see a difference made in the lives of our young people? Or is it just rhetoric?
I think it's an uphill battle when you talk about the education system, the way it's structured at this point.
Well, the education system in America towards minorities is the same as America itself is toward minorities. I believe there's pockets of opportunity for people who are self-starters, who are go-getters, but I also believe that there are vacuums and voids for those who may be left out on the curb or may not have the family support, and I think it boils down to support.
We've got to understand where these kids are coming from. We've got to know that that kid is coming to school, perhaps coming from a disturbed family, coming to school with hunger pains, coming to school not knowing what the next moment is going to bring. So we've got to be able to get teachers more caring, more concerned about how they're going to teach. You got to understand what issues I'm facing. So we've got to be able to institute programs that look at the background so that we can understand what they're dealing with, so that we can adequately provide them with the kind of knowledge that they need to become successful young men and young women.
We have got to support them. If they're going to be educated, we got to first of all lead and guide them and show them the way to expand and to create opportunities for themselves within it. And second of all, we've got to support them in doing so. We've got to get behind our kids and show them how to succeed in this educational system, because there is a way to do it.
Then we will institute programs that will be in place not only from 7 to 3, but from 3 to 11. Because a lot of these kids who are leaving school and going home, they're going home to a whole different environment that drains everything that they've learned or everything that they've tried to learn within a school setting. So we have to figure out ways in which we are able to provide the real care that's needed to educate our young men and our young women. And when we start doing that, the incarceration rate will go down, the teenage pregnancy rate will go down, and life will become different for our young people.
To me, I think the problem is the structure of the family in the home, and when you have the breaking up of the home, you know, it starts there, and I don't see a simple solution that you can, you know, solve with this education problem with the minority youth without having a family component there to be able to go back and do something with that home and the family at this stage.
I'd say it's pretty much just like the atmosphere, because if you've got teachers and friends who really support you, you've got somebody to fall back on when things get tough. So if you've got that, then you're set.
There's a couple students in one of my classes that were going to drop out, and the teachers were just really involved with them and, you know, stayed and helped them learn it. And I think it was easier than there's some teachers that just say, well, if you're going to, you know, drop out, and they don't help you. You know, there's ways to see that a kid is not doing their best, and I guess if the teachers that help out more, there's more of a chance for those kids to stay in school.
With the youth that are struggling, there has to be a better approach as to how we reach that struggling kid with an educational plan, because all kids are not adapting the same way. So in the life of a struggling youth, man, education is so important, because if by chance that kid miss out on that educational opportunity, the struggle that now becomes his burden that's going to lead him into places such as jail, life that's going to be just continual criminal activities, because he's struggling, he's not able to adapt. So he's going to turn to pressures or peers that's going to lead him into something that, oh man, that's going to be devastating for him.
The structure of the home and the family, the deterioration of the family is the problem. I think the root problem of, you know, trying to get kids to go to school, because if they don't have parents there, I mean, no matter what kind of programs you put in play, if it's not done at the home, then, you know, I think it's going to be an uphill battle, I think, to really come up with a solution outside of the home?
Well, we've got to look at, first of all, where our children are coming from. Most of them are coming from single-parent homes. Most of them are coming from an environment where there is constantly crime, there's constantly a whole lot of illegal activities going on in their presence. So I think we've got to gear more towards placing a great deal of concern to how do I meet the needs of these children. The fact that I've gone through so much, the fact that I've spent 13 years in prison, the fact that I know what it's like to be in the street, my experience alone weighs heavy on making life-changing decisions with young people. Simply because you're looking at somebody who can relate to them and who can tell them the downside of what you're doing. I mean, skipping school, not paying attention in class, hanging out, allowing yourself to become involved in gangs. At the end of the day, when I sit down and talk with them and share my story, it gives them an eye-opening experience. So they don't laugh. They don't say, oh, hush, we don't want to hear that. No, it makes them think about the choices that they're making. Me, myself, prior to prison, I was mentally incarcerated because I had gotten so involved in a illegal life, until mentally I was just bombarded with problems, with pressure. Physically, I was trapped, and mentally I was trapped. I was in prison before I went to prison. And believe it or not, it may sound kind of ironic, but I must say that in prison, that was the very place that I understood real freedom. Realizing that it was an election year, I'm so excited about the timing of my release. I'm excited about being a voice with other voices during this season. We've got to be the voice and the vote for our loved ones who are behind prison walls that don't have a voice. Well, voting helps reduce the incarceration rate because what can possibly happen, we can elect officials that understand that locking people up and throwing away the key is not the answer. We have over 2.3 million people behind bars. And someone has said that there are more people in prison for between the ages of 19 and 24 than there are in college. So the vote of our young people is important because it's got to be our young people who get out to the polls to vote, to say that we want change.